know that moment when someone finally says the thing that everyone's been thinking? And mind you, they say it clearly and live on national TV. Yeah, that's exactly what Bill Maher did on Real Time. During one of his latest episodes, Maher tore into Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump's new White House press secretary, over one of the most controversial statements we've heard from that administration yet. And in doing so, he truly proved what political insanity looks like when it becomes normalized.
Benefits of these investments, with industrial production recently rising to an all-time high. President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world.
Now, you might be wondering just what on earth Maher said, which started the massive No Kings protests that are literally unfolding all across the country right now.
No kings! Queen City! No kings! Ho ho! The pedophile has got to go! Hey hey! Ho ho!
But before we begin, please make sure you're subscribed to our channel. It really helps us bring these stories to you through the noise. Leavitt's comments on television were explosive. You see, she claimed that the main constituency of the Democratic Party is made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. Let's pause here. This isn't just some anonymous Twitter troll or a stupid podcast making clickbait. This is the White House press secretary, the voice of the President of the US. When she speaks, she's not just throwing away her opinions freely, but channeling the entire administration's message. And this guy, he saw that for what it was. Not a political theater, but some dangerous kind of propaganda that people might fall for. In his words, this wasn't some drunk guy at the end of the bar, but someone representing the government who's demonizing half the country. And if you strip away the sound bites, what she said basically translates to, everyone who doesn't vote for us is evil.
And there's something dangerous happening in America now. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. The MAGA movement.
Maher's reaction. Maher did not hesitate to call her out and pointed out the fact that even when Joe Biden criticized the MAGA movement in his Independence Hall speech back in 2022, you remember, the one with the red backdrop that scared everyone? He went out of his way to say, "I'm not talking about all Republicans." Unlike Leavitt's broadside, which painted over millions of Democrats as literal criminals and terrorists, Maher could not just sit back and do nothing. He saw this as incendiary. Words like that justify violence. And that's exactly what got him so worked up. Because if you convince your followers that the other side is filled with violent criminals, what happens next? You give them the moral permission to act and defend their country from imaginary enemies. It's the same playbook we've witnessed in every extremist movement that paints the opposite side as monsters and calls itself a hero for attacking them. And this is where Maher, true to form, widened his lens. He linked Leavitt's comments to what he called the rising authoritarian tone in Trump's movement, the same tone that sparked the massive No Kings protests in over 2,000 cities this weekend.
Because I don't have a good feeling and will be critical about a lot of what he's doing, the trade war and disappearing people.
What's the No Kings movement about? If you haven't heard about the No Kings movement, here's what you need to know. It's a huge yet peaceful protest that is meant to remind you that the job of America's president isn't to rule like a king. The slogan, No Kings, takes us all the way back to the American Revolution. It's a reminder that this country was built on rejecting monarchy, not following one person blindly. And that's exactly what the protesters are worried about. The fact that Trump and his team, with someone like Leavitt on his side, are spreading the idea that he's above everyone else, more than just a leader. So, Maher's message was quite clear. When people in power start using language that paints half the country as its enemy, that's where democracy begins to fall apart from within. Before we continue talking about Maher's insights from the No Kings movement, make sure to subscribe to our channel. It helps us bring more bold stories like this your way.
Here about saving democracy. What I suggest that the way we save democracy nationwide is to really have a proposal like for
Maher's insights. But you see, it wasn't just Maher who pointed his finger at this problem. Guests on his show, including the legend Arnold Schwarzenegger and billionaire Mark Cuban, jumped in too. They pointed to a deeper problem they called rage farming. If you haven't heard the term before, it's pretty simple. Rage farming means creating outrage on purpose to keep people angry and glued to their screens. Trump says something shocking. Right-wing influencers repeat it, and soon your uncle's on Facebook yelling about traitors and open borders.
At attention, they had to go 80–90% negative to get the same attention. And when
so it's the anger.
It's the anger. It's the outrage.
The anger and outrage that gets the eyeballs. But no.
Maher and Cuban agreed that this isn't just a random thing. It's been completely planned. Leaders create outrage, and right-wing media spreads it literally everywhere. The more it divides the people, the more attention it gets. But here's where things get scary. Actual politicians are implementing the same stuff that we see Gen Z doing today. People who hold real power. And when that kind of talk comes straight from the White House, it's no longer just internet gossip. It becomes hate built into the system. Maher called it the mouth of Sauron moment. Now, if you've watched The Lord of the Rings, that perfectly fits this situation. Karoline Leavitt, in this analogy, is the creature who speaks for the Dark Lord and broadcasts his will to the world. It's a funny image, but it's also painfully accurate, because just like Mouth of Sauron, Leavitt isn't the only one with the sword, but her words do give power to the one who holds it. Maher said Trump's team is horny for a pretext to crack down. He believes, and honestly, he's not the only guy out there feeling like this, that Trump's inner circle wants protests to get violent, so they can justify bringing in the National Guard or even the military. That's what Maher and protest organizers alike kept hammering. One message: to stay peaceful, because nothing scares an authoritarian more than a massive, calm, and disciplined crowd saying they don't need kings.
Democracy! Now! Democracy!
And that's why these protests are so powerful. Many cities like New York, Charlotte, and Atlanta are flooded with people in the streets. They're in rage, but with resolve. You had families, students, retirees, even people in inflatable dinosaur suits and frog onesies, all chanting, "No more Trump," waving the American flags. It was chaotic, and a community that delivered the message that America doesn't belong to just one man. It belongs to everyone. Maher praised this energy and saw it as the best possible response to Trump-era rhetoric. This protest wasn't violent, but showed patriotism. It proved that patriotism isn't just about the loyalty of a politician, but the principles that built the nation. Speaking of principles, this is where Maher took a surprising turn. He brought up George Washington. Now, usually when political hosts name-drop the Founding Fathers, it's done to sound smart or push some weird point about what the framers would have wanted. But in this case, Maher used Washington in an entirely different way. He used it as a moral mirror and framed him as the anti-Trump, the man who understood that true power comes from restraint. After the Revolutionary War, Washington had every chance to make himself king. His generals even offered him that. Imagine the most powerful man in the entire country being told to take the crown. But Maher reminded viewers of Washington's words. "Do you think I fought against King George III to become King George I?" And with that, he handed his sword, stepped down from the throne, and set a rule that no one in America should ever be above the people. That moment redefined America's identity and screamed that leaders don't rule, they serve people. This point was like a hammer, because today, we're seeing something opposite to that spirit. Trump, and by extension his team, people like Karoline Leavitt, act as if politics is a loyalty test, and it's got nothing to do with democracy. They crave control, adoration, and immunity from criticism. They want to be treated like royalty, not just representatives. And that's exactly what the No Kings movement is pushing back against, the protests. Now, if you've been online or walking around a major city in America, you might have witnessed clips or signs from those protests. No kings, and we don't serve crowns. These aren't just anti-Trump chants. These chants actually remind people of the principles that America was initially built on. It rejects the very idea that one man stands above the law. Maher tied that beautifully to his argument, saying that the real issue here isn't Trump himself, but the Americans who are being convinced by the idea that democracy is actually weak and that only a single strong man can fix issues. Maher was serious when he said something that felt like a plea. If we start letting people call their political opponents terrorists, and if we start framing the protests as criminal acts, we lose the core of what once made us free. This moment hit home because Leavitt had exactly done that. She painted peaceful demonstrators as dangerous and evil, just to show dissent. He also dissected this issue and said that there's a huge psychology involved behind this language. It fuels people to keep the base emotionally hooked. The playbook is simple. Create an enemy, repeat the fear, and present yourself as the only guy who can save people from it. This time, Maher wasn't having it. He said that this constant need to keep people scared is exactly what turns free citizens into blind followers. More and more Americans are starting to realize that calling your fellow citizens criminals and traitors isn't patriotism at all. It's just propaganda. But soon, people will realize that and wake up to this fact. The more extreme the language gets, the more the average person steps back and says, "It doesn't feel right." That's why Maher called the No Kings movement hopeful. It serves as a reminder that America still has a heartbeat. And despite all the division, people continue to show up peacefully, holding signs, and refusing to worship politicians. That's the same reason why Maher's insights felt like more of a reason to wake up than to feel offended or insulted. He warned that whenever leaders use the language of fear, they're softening the ground for authoritarianism, because once you convince half the people that your enemies are evil, you can justify anything. You can even prove yourself to be a hero. Honestly, think about it. All this dirty work, all in the name of protection. So he made it simple. Leavitt might hold the title of press secretary, but what she's really selling is a story, a narrative that says Trump is the savior when he might be everyone's hidden enemy. And the truth is, whatever helps the cause. That's the power of the No Kings slogan for you. So yeah, Bill Maher went off. He nuked Karoline Leavitt's talking points. Not because he hates her, but because what she said had represented the mindset that threatens an entire country. So, what do you think? Did Bill Maher go too far? Or was he exactly right to call out the Trump team this hard? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about the protest. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe.